Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt tension, even when no one said a word? Do you find yourself absorbing the emotions of others like a sponge, leaving you emotionally drained, yet unsure why? There's a word for this kind of sensitivity, but it's more than just a trait. It's a way of being, deep, intuitive, often misunderstood. And for those who live it, it can feel like both a gift and a curse. This video is for the empath, the one who feels everything deeply, who notices the shift in someone's tone long before the words change, who holds space for others' pain but struggles to find space for their own. But being an empath is not a life sentence of emotional exhaustion. It can be a path toward profound clarity, sovereignty, and subtle strength, once you understand the inner mechanics. Let's begin where most empaths live, in the quiet, invisible realm of other people's emotions. To the outside world, you might seem calm, gentle, perhaps even passive, but internally, it's a storm. Empaths don't just witness emotion, they absorb it. Like a tuning fork, their nervous system vibrates with others' moods. A friend's sadness lingers in their chest long after the conversation ends. A stranger's anger on the train can jolt their peace for hours. They wake up tired not because of what they did, but because of what they carried. This isn't melodrama, it's energetic reality. Mirror neurons, finely tuned intuition, and early emotional conditioning wire empaths to merge with others. But here's the catch: when you constantly feel what others feel, where do you begin? This is the hidden weight. Empaths often mistake other people's pain as their own. And over time, that confusion creates identity blur. They lose touch with their own needs, desires, and even their emotional truth. They become so skilled at tuning into others, they forget how to listen inward. If you've ever walked away from a gathering feeling hollow, or found yourself crying over something that wasn't yours to carry, you're not broken. You're wired differently, but that wiring can be honored and refined. So ask yourself, when was the last time I checked if the emotions I'm feeling are truly mine? Have you noticed how emotional storms always seem to find you? It's not just coincidence. There's something about empaths, something magnetic to chaos, to the brokenhearted, to those who subconsciously seek healing without ever saying the words. But why? Empaths radiate availability, not just physical presence, but emotional openness. They listen without judgment, absorb without resistance, and that makes them incredibly attractive to people who are leaking pain, projection, or manipulation, often unknowingly. Carl Jung once said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Many empaths unknowingly play the role of shadow mirror. They reflect back the unhealed wounds others would rather not see. In return, they receive projections, criticism, mood swings that aren't theirs to own. In psychology, this is often the dance of the empath and the narcissist, one overfeeling, the other underfeeling. But it's not always so extreme. Sometimes it's just emotionally immature people clinging to a lighthouse they don't understand. And here's the deeper layer. Many empaths were trained in childhood to be attuned to emotional volatility, walking on eggshells, scanning for subtle shifts in tone or silence. It became survival. So in adulthood, they don't just attract emotional chaos, they seek it out, mistaking it for connection. But chaos is not love. Being needed is not the same as being valued. To transform this pattern, you must ask, what part of me is addicted to rescuing others? Because I'm afraid to rescue myself. At some point, many empaths develop a strategy. It's not conscious, but it's effective. If I can just keep everyone happy, I won't drown in their pain. This is the beginning of the false armor, people-pleasing, self-erasure, chronic niceness. It looks like harmony, but it's actually avoidance. The empath learns to silence their own truth in hopes that doing so will stabilize others. But here's the tragedy. In trying to prevent emotional conflict, the empath disappears. They become a ghost in their own life, apologizing for existing, walking on emotional stilts, adapting to everyone's needs except their own. People-pleasing may sound like kindness, but it's often a trauma response. It's what happens when someone learns early that love is conditional and presence is only safe if you're agreeable. And yet, that kind of love is counterfeit. Because real connection requires honesty, not a performance. Every time the empath says yes when their soul screams no, a fracture forms, and over time the inner split becomes unbearable. What once felt like safety turns into suffocation. To reclaim your life, you must recognize that boundaries are not betrayals, they are declarations of self-respect. So ask yourself, where in my life have I confused being liked with being free? Healing for the empath doesn't begin with softness. It begins with discomfort, sacred discomfort. Why sacred? Because saying no when you've always said yes feels like betrayal until it becomes liberation. Because choosing silence over explaining feels cold until it becomes clarity. Because drawing emotional boundaries feels unnatural until it becomes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and for others. Boundaries aren't walls, they're invitations to meet you without distortion. When an empath reclaims their psychic energy, what once felt like hypersensitivity becomes refined intuition. They no longer absorb, they observe. They no longer appease, they discern. They move from emotional sponge to emotional alchemist. But this shift demands courage. You will disappoint people. You will lose roles you were never meant to play. You may find yourself in solitude, but this solitude is voluntary, chosen, sacred. In that quiet, you begin to feel the texture of your own emotional truth, unfiltered, undistorted. You begin to realize that your empathy is not a weakness to manage, but a sacred gift to wield responsibly. Start with this. The next time you feel overwhelmed, pause and ask, is this mine to carry? Let the answer guide your next breath. What does it mean to be a sovereign empath? It means you still feel deeply, but you no longer lose yourself in the depths. It means you can witness pain without drowning in it, love without losing your center, offer compassion without collapsing into rescue mode. The sovereign empath has undergone an inner alchemy. They've stopped confusing enmeshment with intimacy. They've faced the fear of rejection and emerged with something stronger than approval, self-respect. They've realized that empathy is not just about feeling others, it's about feeling yourself fully enough that you don't need to be validated through other people's emotions. This is the final turning point from absorption to authority, from identity shaped by others to identity shaped by inner truth, from the emotional winds of others to the grounded stillness of your own presence. You become subtle but unshakable, deep but discerning, a mirror no longer distorted but crystal clear. This isn't the end of your empathy, it's the beginning of your mastery. So I'll leave you with this. What would your life look like if your empathy was no longer a source of exhaustion, but a source of quiet, unshakable power? You were never meant to carry the emotional weight of the world. Your sensitivity isn't a flaw, it's a form of perception, a language of the soul. But without discernment, even the most beautiful trait can become a burden. The empath's journey is not about becoming less sensitive, it's about becoming more sovereign. So here's what you can take with you today. Pause before absorbing. When strong emotions rise, ask, is this mine? That simple question is the beginning of energetic sovereignty. Say no with love. Boundaries are not rejections. They are invitations to healthier connection. Embrace sacred solitude. Time alone isn't emptiness, it's recalibration. Learn to anchor in your own emotional climate before responding to others. Honor your gift. Your empathy is rare, but it becomes powerful only when directed by clarity and protected by self-respect. And perhaps most importantly, you don't need to save anyone to prove your worth. You are not here to disappear into others. You are here to stand in the truth of who you are, deeply feeling, deeply discerning, quietly strong. If this spoke to you, share your reflection in the comments. Subscribe for more videos like this. And remember, comment, "I stand in my power," if you're ready to embody the sovereign empath within. And stay tuned. Next time, we'll explore the art of emotional immunity in a noisy, chaotic world.